Good evening, grave robbers. Welcome back to the television graveyard. We are your TV necromancers, Lara Prince and Noah Houlihan, and we have come here tonight to examine the spirits of past television shows, to find out which ones could be resurrected, should be resurrected, and which ones should just stay doomed. This is a podcast in which we will analyze the history, the hype, and the aftermath of shows that ran only one season, or even only one episode. With me as always is TV's Noah Houlihan.
I thought of a game. You try to talk and I'll just keep saying monkey.
Okay.
Monkey.
Oh,
Monkey.
just gonna... No.
Monkey, I can just keep saying monkey.
Oh, God.
Monkey.
So, kids, grave robbers, friends, this week we are doing Steve.Oedekerk.com.
Yes, also known as The O Show.
This ran on NBC in 1997.
Yes.
Once.
It was a pilot. It's listed on IMDb as a TV movie.
That happens all the time with pilots, though.
Yes. This is a sketch show starring and created by Steve Oedekerk and has a cast of very few other than Steve Oedekerk.
How do people know who Steve Oedekerk is?
You might know Steve Oedekerk as the creator of the Thumb movies.
Okay.
You also may know him as the creator of Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius, and The Barnyard.
Okay.
He also directed Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls, Joanna Man, Nothing to Lose, and Patch Adams.
Okay, and Kung Pao Enter the Fist.
Oh yeah, I left out his big one. He's the star and creator of Kung Pao Enter the Fist.
And now, the rest of you will probably know him as the guy who beat Joey Gladstone on Star Search on Full House.
It's between the champion, Steve Oedekerk, or the challenger, Joey Gladstone. Let's see who it's going to be. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Oedekerk, still champion.
Yes.
Which is how I knew who he was. So this happened. This was September 3rd, 1997, and aired only once, and it is extremely hard to come by.
Yes.
It was uploaded onto YouTube fairly recently.
Actually, not that fairly recently.
Really?
8 years ago.
Oh,
it was
okay.
uploaded.
You made it sound like you'd been looking for this for ages.
I had been, but then I stopped and deemed it too hard to find, and then it turned out it was all on there.
Yeah, so this was about this was a 45-minute, it was an hour-long time slot.
Yes.
And the best way I can describe this is turn on, but the 90s. So let's pour one out.
Let's pour one out.
What in the cinnamon toast hell is that?
I based this one off of one of the sketches called Hatsi, which is about wasabi. So this is a wasabi cocktail I'm calling the Hot Hatsi.
Okay.
It is actually a watermelon gimlet.
Okay.
So basically what I did is I mixed, after you were nice enough to make me some simple syrup, I mixed simple syrup with wasabi, and then I added it to some lime juice, some watermelon mint vodka, and some watermelon juice. And then I shook it up in a martini thing and poured it into this glass. So it is a light pink, and it's got little green floaties of wasabi in it everywhere.
Oh, yeah, they're all starting to rise to the top. It looks pretty gross.
It looks really gross. I have not tried this.
Yeah, this was a very collaborative process, because I made the simple syrup, and I also reminded you that we had watermelon mint and vodka.
Yes. Also, since this was my thing, I wanted to do something that was elaborate and possibly a little punishing. So let's go ahead and take a sip. I actually really like this.
I'm not surprised. It smelled very watermelon-y, because I did sniff it when you were taking a picture of it.
It's got, the memory of heat.
Okay.
I wouldn't call it spicy, but it's very nice if you'd like to try it.
Oh, no.
I recommend it.
Fine.
Here we go. Laura has it.
Pray for me. It actually is very good.
It's very good.
I think in the future, if you ever make this again, I would recommend putting the wasabi in when we make the simple syrup.
Yeah, I think that was the
and
mistake.
cooking down the wasabi with the sugar.
That was the mistake.
Because it's delicious, but it's ugly.
Yeah, it's not appealing. But, like, there's no heat to it, but there's almost like, kind of like a slight massage on the tongue. Like that something's going on.
Yeah, like it is quite good. I think, now gimlet you said was mostly cucumber originally, and you adapted it to watermelon.
Yes.
Because you don't really care for cucumber.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Yeah,
You get a
very
really
refreshing.
strong watermelon profile on it. The vodka is watermelon mint vodka, and I think the mint does take...
The mint does help it a little, yeah.
does take kind of the edge off. So I made the, hey, it's the 90s, you guys!
Yeah.
Because this show has a punishingly late 90s aesthetic. So I wanted to come up with a cocktail that also had a punishingly late 90s aesthetic. And what is more 90s than McDonald's orange drink?
Right.
So I made a orange margarita that I then put too much food coloring in.
Yeah, to make extra orange.
To get that extreme orange color. It's just tequila, triple sec, and lime juice, so a traditional margarita. And then I added some Rise vitamin water, which is their orange flavor, to get like
Right.
kind of an orange taste to it.
How's that?
Yo, that's great.
Good?
Yeah, taste it.
I'll take a
I mean, it's a
sip, too.
margarita. It tastes like a margarita. It's got a nice hint of orange.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah, because it's vitamin water, so it's like...
Both of our drinks do a little thing to my sinuses, which is nice.
Yeah, it's orange vitamin water, which means it's slightly more flavorful than seltzer.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's got like just enough orange. I don't like super strong cocktails, so the vitamin water kind of takes... kind of fills it out.
Yeah, it's good. I mean,
Yeah.
we made two good drinks.
Yeah, I do love how hilariously orange my drink is.
Yes. So let's get into this show. The frame story to this is a child at his very 90s computer.
Yeah.
When his mom comes in and is like, I got you a bunch of video games. Don't stay up all night playing them. And as he goes through, without a case, he discovers a disc that says steve.oedekerk.com.
Yes.
So it's a creepypasta.
Ben drowned!
Yeah.
My first note is, Ben drowned.
And he puts in this disc, and this insanity starts. It is basically a cartoon with Steve Oedekerk running around.
Yeah, and it is terrifying late 90s CGI Steve Oedekerk.
Along with actual Steve Oedekerk.
Yeah, and like, I cannot impress upon you enough how ugly this show is.
Yeah.
It is that very boxy, ugly, late 90s CGI. Reminds me a little bit of Game Over.
Yes. Which, something I wanted to bring up. This show, I believe, came out in 1997?
Yes, it did.
Where does that fall in line with, say, Toy Story?
Toy Story is 1995.
Okay.
Toy Story had had a lot more resources, because Toy Story was the first completely digitally animated feature film.
Right. This looks pretty good compared to original Toy Story. Like, there's some real goodness to this, and like, we're spoiled by CGI now.
Yes, and this was the first primetime show to use this much computer animation.
Yeah, so I think it's very interesting, and it looks terrible now.
Yes.
But I think it looked decent then.
Yeah, it looks old, but it also like probably didn't look old then.
Right.
This feels hilariously dated now. Mm-hmm. It is definitely usually when we say a product of its time, it's because the show turns out to be like racist or sexist.
Yeah.
But this is a product of its time in the most innocent sense of that.
Yeah, in
of
the
like,
quality of the actual product.
Like, this is aggressively 90s. This would have been right before Bug's Life. Because Bug's
Okay.
Life was like 98.
Okay.
So this would have been after Toy Story, but before Ants and Bug's Life.
All right. So that sounds right. And in this opening sequence, he's running around and he's just like, welcome, I'm Steve Oedekerk. Bring me the peacock, since he's on NBC.
Right.
And he kind of tries to set it up like, welcome to steve.oedekerk.com. This is what the internet is.
Yes.
And what we then see is a pretty good representation of 90s internet, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, it's more weird than clever. Mm-hmm. So, like, it gets its funniness from being this weird thing you found on the internet rather than this funny thing that someone wrote.
Yeah, because we hadn't hit that level of, like, you had to be super clever. Yeah, it was just like, look, it's a picture of a dog on the internet.
Well, like, the way things got around with word of mouth on the internet was that it was weird. Like, did you see that weird thing?
Yeah.
Did you see that weird squirrel that swears?
Oh, foamy.
Like, things like that, where it was like, if it was really funny, it would be on TV type thing. But now we're taking the internet and putting it on television.
Yeah, and like the first little sketch is he goes, I have access to anything I want. It's the internet. And then he asks for a woman. And a game over-esque woman comes up and like goes like, hi, Steve. And he's like, oh, cool. Bring me a dancing duck and a dancing cow.
Yes.
And that like, oh my God, so random. This was like just ahead of the like LOL spork kind of humor.
Yes.
And if you know what the random spork girl is, congratulations, you're old.
That's a mean thing to do to our fans.
It's also us.
Yeah, I'm a fan of this show. I forget how we get from here to here, but he ends up in space fighting babies.
Oh no, there's a vignette of him performing at a club and like doing regular Steve Oedekerk doing stand-up.
Yes, and I like this joke. It's him like weirdly walking around on stage with like his arms in a weird position. And he milks this. He's
the only time in your life you can walk around like this and not look like a jerk is when you're in a pool.
And like when he hits you with that, you're like, oh, that is a perfect example of someone in a pool.
It reminds me of my friend Vegas used to do a joke that they used to do all these jokes of like, did you ever notice white people walk like this and black people walk like this? Mm-hmm. And he used to do a joke that was, you ever notice white people walk like this? And he'd walk normally and then he goes, and then T-Rexes walk like this! And he'd just stamp around the stage with his...
It's one of my favorite Vegas Lancaster jokes.
Yeah, like this very instantly relatable, instantly understandable premise and payoff. But, like, still very family-friendly. Like, this show is, for the most part, pretty family-friendly. I would say, like, soft PG-13.
Yeah, I would say that. So, I like that joke, but he's performing in front of, like, weird CGI creatures. Mm-hmm. And the way it cut between different things, it made me feel... I'm not sure if you got this. I got Beakman's World vibes from it.
I could definitely see Beakman's World.
Because, like, they do actually cut to penguins, and I was like, oh, I'm having all these memories.
Yeah, I could definitely see where you'd get Beakman's World vibes. Oh, man, that's a show I haven't thought about in a while.
Yeah. So, he tells that one joke, and he gets some laughs, and then how does he get to space?
The transitions between these shows... the transitions don't make any sense, and they're so quick that it's very easy to just kind of be like, wait, what happened?
Well, there's a whole sequence where he's talking to an eyeball, which is his co-pilot, as he flies around in space fighting babies.
Yeah.
And instead of shooting lasers, he shoots pacifiers.
Yeah.
Space babies! They're really cute, aren't they? Aren't they cute? They could kill us! Oh, I'd like to hug every one of them. And then they take our heads!
Like, the stars in the background are also his face.
Yeah.
Like, this whole moment's a fever dream.
Yeah, and this is when I start to kind of be like, I don't know about this. Because it's very... It's very weird.
It's interesting you say that, because you say you're not sure about this. I noticed throughout the... canned laughter seems unsure about it.
I did not catch that.
There's not a lot of like uproarious applause and laughters. It's a lot of like nervous laughter, which is insane because we know that it's all computer generated. Like Steve Oedekerk could have made that laughter anything, and he still chose to make the audience reaction almost unsure of the comedy itself.
Yeah, like it's a very, very, very weird situation. So we get to this booth guy, and the booth guy is a recurring segment. We see booth guy about 3 or 4 times during this, and it's Biff.
Yeah, it's Tom Wilson is Back to the Future trying to get gas, and Steve Oedekerk plays the guy in the booth, and he just mocks him.
Yeah.
You got an attitude problem?
Because he knows he's in, like, bulletproof glass, and, like, Biff can't kill him. Mm-hmm. So he uses this power to just mock everything that is being said.
Yeah, it's immature, but it's kind of like... it's honestly really all thatty to me.
Yes.
Like, that kind of very, very... I have a concept, and I'm going to grind this concept into the ground.
Yeah.
This sketch kind of works, but we're gonna see him again.
Yes.
And then the next sketch is Oda Battle.
Who dare battle me? Who dare play Oda Battle? You think you're a big man? Well then, come on, big man.
I like this sketch.
Yeah. My next note is, this is ADHD theater. Like, it is so quick and confusing that, like, it feels so, like, it's so jarring.
Yes. So basically, we see the kid in the 90s computer again.
Yeah, because we'd forgotten about that.
And, like, the frame story here. And he's playing Oda Battle, where you fight Steve Oedekerk, who is, like, this big, jacked guy. But the only characters you can pick to fight Steve Oedekerk are accountant, old woman,
Sick old woman,
little girl, and puppy.
An herba pet, which is definitely
an herba pet.
It's a don't sue us chia pet.
Yes. And basically this kid is desperately trying to beat Steve Oedekerk, but Steve Oedekerk has access to all these weapons.
And powers,
but the child, like, the accountant can throw a calculator.
Yeah.
So it's just this idea of Steve Oedekerk's using the power of the internet to make himself a god and forcing you to be unable to defeat him.
Yeah. I really thought this sketch would have paid off better if one of the lesser powered characters had been able to beat him.
Right.
But that doesn't happen.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
This is kind of the big thing that I know about this show that you don't.
Okay.
If you go to steve.oedekerk.com, at least back in 1997, all this stuff was real.
Okay.
So I was a Steve Oedekerk fan in high school, like a super huge Steve Oedekerk fan. So I remember going to this website. I believe it was actually oentertainment.com. And not only was, like, these sketches there, you could play Oda Battle.
Okay.
So it was an actual real video game. And you could only pick between little girl, sick old woman, and accountant in the game.
Okay.
But it was the same, just, like, super unfair, like, fighting game. And he would mock you the whole time. And, like, when you lost a cinematic of, like, you getting shot with the giant cannon would play. But it was possible to win.
Okay.
It was really, really hard. But it was possible. And when you won, he would call you a cheater and the game would shut off.
Okay.
So that punchline was there, but it was for the internet.
Okay.
Instead of it being here. You just kind of, like, had to hunt it down.
And, like, nothing about this show makes me want to know more at this point. And then we get back to the glass booth guy.
Yes.
I hate this sketch.
Okay.
This is the sketch. A woman approaches young woman and gives him her credit card and it's like, 20 on pump 2. And this is so confusing to me because I'm from New Jersey and I'm like, huh? But anyway.
You give it to the attendant, lady. What are you doing? Why are you out of your car?
Yeah. That's what they're there for. And he then cuts up her credit card in front of her. And all I can think as a woman is, shit, I needed gas enough to go to a gas station in the middle of the night, which means I needed gas.
Right.
Because I would wait till tomorrow if I didn't. Mm-hmm. And this man has now cut up my credit card. To me, this is a horror. This is the beginning of a horror movie.
Yeah.
And this is I always have this issue with male-dominated comedy of they don't look at this as being a terrifying situation. Mm-hmm. They think this is wacky hijinks, and I can't help but look at it as being oh my god, she's in trouble.
Right.
So I hated this sketch. And then he kind of goads her into kissing the glass.
Yeah.
To get her credit card back. And then you see he takes a picture of her face smushed up against the glass.
Yeah, a Polaroid picture.
And then puts it on a picture behind him with all of these other Polaroids of women doing the same thing.
Yes.
So he's a serial creep and abuser.
Yeah, this is a very old joke. This is the joke of, I walked into a pet store and I saw this parrot. And the parrot was just sitting there going 17, 17, 17, 17, 17. And I was like, what's this about? And then I put my finger up to it and it bit it. And it went 18, 18, 18, 18. So the idea is this happens all the time. It's taken in this really weird, creepy direction. But it's an old joke is the point I'm making.
Yeah, I didn't care for this sketch. I know it's I'm looking at it through a very different lens than it was written in and that it was probably seen in.
Yeah, I think this is going to come back one more time.
Yeah.
And I think you're supposed to feel a little bit better about it by the third sketch, but we'll discuss that when we get to it.
Yeah, and then we have the weird bacon sketch.
Yes, this is Bacon Babe, where they show bacon and then it cuts to a pig on the couch watching it and it's like,
wow. Now that is going too far. Honey, where is that remote? Where is that remote? I tell you, I'm this close to getting up.
Yeah.
But now we've set up this weird frame story that this is a pig that's watching the show. Mm-hmm. But we've also set up that this is a game disc that this kid is playing.
Yeah.
So now nothing makes sense.
Yep.
So next we get the skeleton on a date sketch. And it's basically this woman trying to break up with this skeleton.
Yeah.
And
my next note is, what the hell is this?
Well, here's the thing. The skeleton's like, why do you want to break up with me? And the first thing she says is, kissing you is weird. You don't have any lips. But the skeleton is clearly animated with lips.
He also has a tongue, which we see repeatedly, because there's this one tongue effect they just keep doing.
They keep using, yeah. So, it's a small... this is what is called a comedy disconnect. This is a trap in comedy. Mm-hmm. Basically, if you've ever seen a stand-up comedian and they go up there and the first part of their set is about how it's hard to be single.
Yeah.
Then the next part is about their wife. Mm-hmm. And then the next part is about them being gay.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, what am I supposed to be thinking here? And, you can wave that away and just say, well, it's jokes, it shouldn't matter. But you're just disrespecting your audience then.
Yeah, I tell jokes about engagement, and right. I slide my wedding ring in my pocket.
Right, because you don't want to have that comedy disconnect of them finding fault in your joke.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's happening here. I understand you want to give the skeleton lips because you're animating it, and to make it, lip sync the words that are being said, you need to have lips, or else it's just going ga 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 ga.
It's just going what?
Ga 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 ga.
I don't usually wish this was a video podcast.
So, I understand the need to do that, but you're ruining your own joke. Also, it's very hard for this poor woman who is clearly just sitting on a green stool.
Yeah.
In this green world, so it can be animated later. Mm-hmm. So...
And, this is before that style of acting was so prevalent. Acting in front of a green screen with nothing to work with wasn't like, it didn't have the prevalence it currently does. Like, when you watch the making of featurette of any big blockbuster now, you're sitting there going like, wow, Dave Bautista is all made up, sitting in a green room talking to a tennis ball with googly eyes.
Yeah, and that tennis ball with googly eyes is important because she loses the eye line with the skeleton every now and then. On top of that, like, the joke of this is like, let's just be friends, and the skeleton being like,
Bobby and Lisa are such good friends. Bobby and Lisa are such good friends. Hey!
Bobby.
There go Bobby and Lisa!
Bobby.
They're such good
Bobby.
friends! There they go! They're such good friends! Rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Bobby and Lisa are such good friends!
Bobby, please, get a hold of yourself, Bobby.
Bobby, Lisa!
the ending punchline is like a friend zoning.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, okay.
My next note here is Joey Gladstone should have won Star Search.
This is the moment?
Yeah.
This is the moment where you're like, it's time to switch this up?
Yeah, I've got about a page left in notes, but this is the point where I'm like, kind of gone on this show.
The next thing we see is the Steve Oedekerk avatar, the cartoon version of him, doing stand-up about the word duh.
Yeah.
Duh. Duh. That's a great word. Duh. You should all use that. I'm telling you, there's a lot of people that need to hear duh all the time. Like when you go into the bank, may I deposit that into your account? Duh.
And every time he says duh, it gets a little bit more like wildly animated. Mm-hmm. You can't do cartoon stand-up. You just can't. It's the whole point of stand-up comedy is getting an audience full of people to relate to you. You can't relate to this cartoon avatar. Like, it's never been done successfully.
I think it could be done. I definitely don't think Oedekerk is the one to do it.
I mean, can you think of a time where a cartoon stand-up has worked?
No, but I kind of think that, like, just because it hasn't doesn't mean it can't.
Well, here's my thoughts on it. I know that there's an entire episode of Death Clock, Metalocalypse about it. And it's about stand-up, so it's less about, like, the jokes and more of, like, the struggles of doing comedy.
Yeah.
It's a great episode, but no one has, like, a killer set in it. The only time I can think of cartoons doing stand-up is in Grand Theft Auto 4. Because Nico and his cousin can go to the comedy club and watch either Cat Williams or Ricky Gervais. And it's
What a strange pair of comics to pick.
And, like, they're on different ends of the spectrum in terms of comedy. And just animating them, something gets lost.
Yeah.
And, like, these are comics that I enjoy and I think are funny. And, like, watching these bits.
And both of them are
Grand Theft Auto,
indisputably successful stand-up comics.
Exactly. You're taking away the human element, and that's where stand-up comedy lives.
Yeah, true. I'm like, I'm sure like a Roger Rabbit situation, but I think that also would have to be a cartoon audience. I think you could do a bit where there's a cartoon stand-up comedian performing in front of a cartoon audience. It's like, don't you just hate when the anvils get dropped on you? And everyone's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, because, like, I'm not going to be able to relate to the struggles of Roger Rabbit.
Right.
And that's where comedy works. That's where stand-up works.
Yeah, I think that's where we're disconnecting is I'm thinking of like, oh, I could see a stand-up scene working in a cartoon, but the audience in my mind is also animated.
I'm saying you're the audience, the comedian's a cartoon.
Yeah, because you know what I was actually thinking of? When we see an animated comedian? Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor.
You know what? That is a good one. That is a good point.
For those of you who are not like super theme park dweebs like I am, Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor is an attraction in Disney World. It's currently closed because of, the Rona. Where you go in and there is an actor hiding under something. But we only see a CGI monster doing this in real time. Mm-hmm. So it's a comedian kind of going through an animated avatar who's a monster because the ending of Monsters, Inc. is laughter is more effective than screams.
Right.
So we bring in...
Spoilers for the film Monsters, Inc.
Spoilers for a 20-year-old movie. So you kind of get this like, oh, okay, we're going to do a comedy show for the humans to get power.
Right.
And it's hosted by Mike Wazowski, and then his cousin, Mark Wazowski, does all of the, like...
interacting with the crowds.
Yeah, because they couldn't get Billy Crystal to just live in the Magic Kingdom forever.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool thing.
Yeah, I mean, a big part of that is also, they're not just, like, hiding somewhere. They're wearing face tracking things.
Yeah.
So that, like, they can make expressions in the moment that we can relate to as the audience.
Yeah, so it is mocap instead of...
Yeah, in this, part of the joke is whenever Steve Oedekerk's avatar says duh, his eyes get a little bit bigger. Mm-hmm. And, like, that's not a relatable action.
No, you're right. I'll talk about Disney theme park attractions all damn day compared to this. Next, we see a singing geisha and doing the Hatzi intro. Hatzi gets an intro.
Yes.
For this sketch.
He was once a little green glob of wasabi. You should see him now. His name is Hatzi. He can spice up any food with his sushi pal Ginger too. If you've got a heartburn, then Hatzi's a part of you.
Hot Hatzi, which is a lump of wasabi.
It looks like Gumby.
Yeah, that looks like Gumby.
And he has a sidekick who's pickled ginger.
Yes. And Hatzi likes to sneak his way onto food and burn your mouth.
Yeah.
And we see the guy from Dodgeball, whose name I don't remember. Stephen Root eating a hamburger.
The guy from Dodgeball, or as some of our audience might know him, Milton from The Office.
Yes!
That's like his biggest role, I think.
He's eating a hamburger and Hatzi sneaks up, rubs himself on the burger, and then when this character, because he doesn't have a name, bites into the burger, it burns a hole in his tongue.
Yeah.
This is very late 90s in that, like, this is the start of the sushi trend.
Yes.
So, like, people are just being introduced to the idea of wasabi, and we're still at the part of culture where it's like, wasabi is just green liquid fire. Who would possibly eat it?
Hey, random spork girls. How many of you put someone up to eating a whole wad of wasabi in the mall food court?
Yeah, like, that's where they were in culture.
Yeah.
Today, like, wasabi is so part of, like, because sushi's so much part of our culture, that wasabi's part of our culture, that, like, there are people who can just do that because they like wasabi.
Yeah, like, to put it into perspective, the wasabi you bought for your cocktail, which, by the way, you forgot the garnish that you were going to put in it. We had those wasabi chips.
Oh, whatever.
We just got that at our grocery store. We did not have to make any kind of special trip for that.
Yeah, so this joke kind of works in 1997, where people are like, oh, wasabi, that's that weird green lava.
Yeah, because I remember there was an episode of Doug where, like, Grandma takes Doug out for sushi and, like, whoa, Grandma's wacky!
Yeah, sushi, that's insane, it's raw fish. But now, like, sushi is very popular. Wasabi is very popular.
Yeah, and, like, now, like, Grandma has had sushi.
Mm-hmm. This type of joke is the same as, like, the jokes of, like, bottled water. How crazy is that?
Yeah, like, my college food court has sushi.
Yeah.
It's decent, actually.
I will also say that Hot Hatzi had his own game.
Of course he
on
did.
SteveOedekerk.com where you ran around and had to, like, touch food and run away and torture people.
Bleh. I'm not a big wasabi fan myself. So, we get back to Glass Booth Guy.
Yes.
And we see a cop come. And, like, he kind of has an altercation with the cop.
Yes.
And then we meet Art LaLusa.
Yeah. Art LaLusa.
And he's like, don't you know who I am? And Glass Booth Guy's like, no.
Are you LaLusa? And it turns out he's a locksmith.
The Glass Booth Guy is a less successful version of a David Spade character.
Yes, it is very bye-bye.
Yeah, but, like, much less successful.
So, I want to mention that when the locksmith opens the door, all the characters from the previous sketches show up.
Yeah,
and
Biff, the woman, the cop.
Yeah. So I think we're supposed to feel satisfied that he got his, comeuppance. I should also mention that, the whole La Lusa thing is just La User from Ace Ventura.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. La Lusa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was very late 90s humor, too, of, different ways to call someone a loser.
Yeah.
That,
La who?
The finger in your thumb.
Yeah.
Loser. I had to look at both my hands multiple times to do that to you for this audio podcast.
No one will ever know.
Yeah, because, she was looking kind of dumb with her finger and her thumb in the shape of an L on her forehead. Would come out 2 years later.
Yes.
No Riverdale reference. All-Star today.
Today it's All-Star.
So, we then get another, Bobby the Skeleton interlude. Because Bobby is the name of the skeleton from the Just Friends speech. And he thinks the show is going well.
Yeah.
He's just telling you how well he thinks the show is going. And this is when I kind of have this moment of this was harder to watch than most of the shows we've watched because everything besides Turn On that we've watched has had a narrative and you could kind of figure out where you were in the episode.
Yeah. We're wrapping up.
I am to the point where I'm in a fugue state fever dream where I think we have always been watching Steve Oedekerk and we will always be watching Steve Oedekerk. This is the part where I start to kind of lose it.
Yeah.
And we're coming off the 2 Heathers episodes. So I'm my sanity while watching these shows is very, very splintered. Mm-hmm. So I'm just what the hell is this? Bring me a documentary.
Yes. So I feel like somewhere in here we also had the balloon thing. Did the
balloon thing?
Yeah, the incredible balloon thing.
I don't have that anywhere.
I don't think you did write it down, but this is what he does. He's it's time for the incredible balloon thing. And he would pose wildly and make this pose. He's you got to do that. Just show up at work tomorrow and go like this. This would have worked in a comedy club where Steve could have read the crowd and known how many times to do that.
Yes.
Because there's someone I know who does stand-up comedy down in Atlantic City. And on a good night, he won't say a word.
Really?
Yeah. His whole bit is he comes out and he's afraid to start talking. So he'll come up and shake his head at the microphone and walk away. He'll say one word and then the noise will scare him and he'll run away. And on a good night with a good crowd, that'll be his 20-minute set.
That's bananas.
On a bad night with a bad crowd, he'll realize this is not working and switch to more basic material.
Okay.
Steve doesn't have the opportunity to do this with this joke, where you can read the crowd and see how many times and how far he can go with things, because the crowd's not real. And he has no idea how the people at home are going to react. So he just shouldn't have done this bit. But they do cut to animated Steve in the audience going, "I'm hilarious."
Oh.
Which is immediately something that just makes you go, ugh.
Oh, I wonder if this is when I have the note, white male mediocrity at its peak.
Maybe.
Because I definitely have that note in here. Nothing about this impresses me about Steve. I know you love Steve Oedekerk.
Even the incredible balloon thing? You don't even remember what it was, do you?
No.
He blew up 2 balloons. He put them to his temples. And then he lets them go, so they just go into his head.
Okay, so fun story, kids.
The incredible balloon thing.
I used to work at a department store in my college years, and I worked in the children's department for a little while, which went about as well as you think that did. But my boss was we're going to do a big children's day. So I called my friend who was a party clown. And I was also moonlighting as a party princess at the time, because that tracks.
Money kids.
I feel like me being a party princess tracks.
Yeah.
And I did more with balloons on this day at Macy's being a party princess than this sketch. And I was paid considerably less.
Probably. So then I believe it's baby interview?
Yes. Yeah, I don't have a lot of notes about this. I'm so confused at this point.
Yeah, it's basically Steve Oedekerk is trying to get a job, but the the boss he is interviewing for is a baby. Mm-hmm. And like, since the baby doesn't respond to him, he kind of freaks out and thinks that it's
and admits he lied on his resume.
Yeah. That's the whole sketch.
And then we get the game show, What Did I Just Say?
What did I just say? Where it is hosted by Steve Oedekerk. The contestants are Team 1 is 2 mannequins, and Team 2 is Steve Oedekerk again, and Fred Willard.
Yeah, Fred Willard. Rest his soul. Deserves better than this show.
And the idea is it's basically password, but instead of it being, I'm trying to get you to say a word based on my clues, I'm just trying to get you to repeat the word.
Yeah, repeat the word I just said.
Latex.
Latex!
Yeah! This is like kind of a funny idea, but like there's not a lot there.
This is a 15-second sketch.
Yes.
Like, not in the show. It's much longer in the show. But this, you and I have actually had this discussion about College Humor, Key and Peele, and SNL. And one of the amazing things about Key and Peele to me is Key and Peele knows exactly how long to run a sketch.
Yes.
They have very few sketches that run way too long for the bit. Like, we watched that one where the guy says, like, he keeps saying dick instead of legs.
Oh, yes.
And it's about a minute long, and that's about how long there is in that humor.
Now, and I kind of think what the format of the sketch is, you do it once, and it's like latex. And then you did it again, it was like sandwich. And then it was like, all right, now it's time for the speed round. And they're just trying to get each other to say the words as fast as possible, back and forth to each other. But for some reason, Steve keeps passing on the word dog, which I think that's the logic to the sketch. Like, you establish it twice, then you do a fast version, and you don't quite win because for some reason the word dog is tricky.
It would be so much more sensible to make the words longer and more complicated.
I mean, I think that would make it logical and not funny. Like, if I said...
Well, it's not funny this way either.
I liked this sketch. I did. But I think the issue with it is, instead of letting that... I think the bit works. Where it's like, this is a really stupid game show.
Okay.
The host of the show, which I know is Steve Oedekerk, is being like really weird and like silly and like cynical, where it felt like they didn't believe enough in the bit that he needed to be extra funny.
Yeah.
In a way that's just like, let this be a 1 minute sketch without you just being like, it's host time.
Yeah, because that's the complaint you and I have about a lot of College Humor and a lot of SNL sketches is we're like, okay, this is 2 or 3 jokes stretched out over 5 minutes. And this is 2 or 3 jokes stretched out over 5 minutes.
Right.
So the prize for this is an old lady who types and eats corn.
Yeah.
Would you like to hear my next 3 notes?
Sure.
This is peak random equals funny humor.
Yes.
Next bullet point. Guess what? Next bullet point. That's not humor.
That's not humor.
Moving on.
Yeah, like, it didn't need that part of it. 'Cause again, it feels like they wrote a sketch that was kind of funny and could hold a minute of time.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, how can we stretch it?
Yes.
Well, let's make this, like, the prize really weird. And this is, like, a usual fault in comedy when I'm teaching comedy classes. Of, like, when you have a premise and then you answer the premise, that's comedy. Like, what if you took a game show like Password, made it very easy and simple, and still had the contestants struggle? That would work as comedy. But when it's like, what if you took the game show Password and then there's lots of farts? It's like, well, no, those things don't go together. Like, you're just trying to be funny instead of creating something that's funny. And that's what the host is. That's what the prize is. It's just like, you're not doing it right. The next sketch that we have is then a very bad soup ad. It's just an ad for bad soup.
Finnegan soup makes you die.
Yeah, it's almost the same sketch, like the same idea. Like, what if it's this, but really bad?
I really feel like all that again. Mm-hmm. Like, this is humor written by 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
Like, what is a bad soup sketch? Oh, it makes you die!
Yes.
Like, there's nothing clever about it. There's nothing interesting about it. It's just dancing soup cans saying that they're gonna make you die.
Yes. That would be the coffee pot making its return to the podcast. We haven't had it on. It didn't appear in Heather's, but coffee pot is returning for Steve Oedekerk.
I've got a question for you.
Yes.
Does the coffee pot have a jingle?
No.
Can it?
Interrupting coffee pot. I'm the interrupting coffee pot.
Anywho, I then have the note of, this is a little Dana Carvey show-esque, and I actually want to apologize because Dana Carvey at least had, like, a good premise for most of their sketches.
Right.
A lot of these sketches, it's a joke that they try to stretch for just entirely too long.
Yes. And that is very much shown in this movie interview.
Yes.
Where Tom Wilson, a.k.a. Biff,
Yay.
returns to interview Steve, who is playing, like, this weird director.
Yeah, who intentionally unpronounceable foreign name that's supposed to be very Eastern European. He looks like goddamn Goldmember in Austin Powers.
He looks a lot like
This is pre Spy Who Shagged Me, so this is pre Goldmember, but he looks exactly like how Mike Myers is made up to look like Goldmember.
Right. And this is where, like, the line from the beginning, it comes in where
Sometimes I say monkey while other people talk. You'll try it? You talk.
No, I don't want to try
Monkey.
it. I want to
Monkey?
This is mine.
Monkey? No matter what you say, I always have monkey. I love this game. It never gets too far gone for me.
it's weird. I don't know if it's a joke.
It feels like another sketch written by a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, this is the kind of thing I would have done to somebody when I was not, like, I might have liked this when it was airing, because this would have been my sense of humor at 9.
Yeah.
So the next bit is we get another stand-up bit.
Yes.
And it's the bathroom gender joke, which I've seen so many iterations of over the years.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen it. Would have seen it a lot in 1997.
Yeah, it's when they don't put women or men on the bathroom door, they put, like, something creative.
Yeah, it was mackerel or squid.
Yes.
It was like, I don't know if I'm a mackerel or a squid.
And, like, I remember that being in vogue for a time.
Yeah.
And so, like, that classic chestnut.
Yes.
And then we get the plane stalker.
Yes.
This sketch kind of works.
I like this sketch, basically, because it kind of works on more than one level, which is rare.
Yes.
And it's the idea that Steve Oedekerk is worried because a plane is stalking him. And basically, he's just kind of walking around the city, and there's always a plane flying around in the background.
Yes.
So it's kind of funny to be like, oh, there are always planes. But this one guy thinks that the plane is stalking him. And then, as we move further, instead of it being in the sky, it's actually, like, peeking at him from behind a building. Yeah,
so, like, the joke actually kind of works, because it's like, no, this guy's an idiot. There's just a plane in the sky. Oh, no, wait. The plane is stalking him.
Yes.
This one kind of works.
Yeah, I remember watching this one on SteveOedekerk.com and liking it. I thought it was very funny. It was one of the things that made me, like, want to hunt this down.
Yeah, like, I'm going to be honest. The sketch works.
Yes.
So then we get back to him doing stand-up.
Yes, and I like this prop. He has a guitar that has a radio in it instead of strings.
Yeah.
So instead of playing the guitar, he just hits a button that plays music. That's a fun prop.
Yeah. And then he does, like, this is a few things you never hear people say.
Yes.
And it's lame.
This is something that I feel like every musical comedian I've ever seen has done.
Yeah.
Because I know Bo Burnham does this exact joke.
Yeah.
Where he's just like, I like to say something that no one else has ever said, just so I feel new and unique. Like peanut butter sneaker shoes. Or, son, I saw your comedy show and I loved it. Like, stuff like that. And it's just, it's one of those things where when you have music, you're like, all I have to do now is say funny stuff. And it's still going to be good because there's also music. Like, I know Dimitri Martin does this. Like, here are things that are opposite.
Okay.
Is a Dimitri Martin song. Like, this is just a common bit. And there's a few gems in this one where it's like, yeah, no one will ever say that. Funny.
You never hear people say, let's move to France and get treated like crap. My nose is broken, so kick it. You don't know what ugly is till you've seen me. Can I have that piece of food in your beard?
But that's it.
Yeah, and I feel like both of the comedians you mentioned do this bit more successfully.
Yeah.
Because Bo Burnham, son, I really enjoyed your comedy show.
Yeah.
It kind of pivots from like, oh, I'm so random to Bo Burnham turning the joke back onto himself, which is a very Bo Burnham thing. I do really like Bo Burnham, so. I'm at the point where my note here is, with no narrative, this feels goddamn endless, and, oh, it's 90s turn on.
Yes. And then I think it ends. This is the end, right?
Yeah. The next note I have is, oh yeah, the frame story, because we go back to Billy and his mom.
Yes.
And Billy's mom walks by his room, and then there's this, like, terrifying effect.
Yeah, it's the Terminator 2, like...
Face coming out of the door.
And the idea is that, like, he's just involved with whatever this computer virus is.
Yeah, like Billy has been claimed by Steve Oedekerk.
Yeah, it kind of feels like Freakazoid almost.
Yeah.
Like the internet has grabbed him.
And then my last note is, hey, Third Rock from the Sun has moved to Wednesdays.
Yes, which is because the end credits.
The feed we watched was the NBC feed where they're like, Third Rock, new night, Wednesday. And then my final note is, yeah, you know Third Rock from the Sun ran forever.
Yeah.
But I feel like nobody references it.
Yeah, it never became that thing that, like, everyone syndicated.
Yeah, I feel like that show, like, completely faded from the pop culture zeitgeist.
Yeah, it won a bunch of Emmys, like...
It launched Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who is still a big star, and John Lithgow was in it. Like, it was a big show when it was running, but, like...
Yeah, I don't remember it being, like, that thing that was replayed on Nick at Night or TBS.
Yeah, it doesn't have that, like, Friends, Frasier, Full House...
I don't think it's on...
Third Rock from the Sun.
Third Rock from the Front. I don't think it's on, like, Netflix or anything either. So it's not in that, like, zeitgeist of rewatchable sitcoms.
Yeah, it's not going to get that, like, that second streaming life that a lot of shows get.
And it was good. I really like Third Rock.
So that was thoughts about Third... It ran for 6 seasons.
Yeah.
Oh, you can stream it almost anywhere. Like,
is it?
Yeah, it's on Peacock. It's on Roku. It's on Tubi.
Okay, those are not the big ones, though.
No, it's not on, like, Netflix, Hulu, or Disney+. But, like, you can watch Third Rock from the Sun for free pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, it's kind of like saying you can watch it anywhere. Like Daily Motion or... like, those are not the big ones. I'm surprised. It's a good show. So... That was the show.
Yeah, the show is...
So here's the interesting thing.
Okay.
Like I said, I was a big fan of Steve Oedekerk in my high school days.
Yeah, this was your Megan Once a Millionaire. This was like your white whale.
So I really wanted to see this show, and it had turned out that... Because he put clips of it on his website.
Right.
Along with these, like, games and stuff. So, you know, I played Hotsy. I want to say I couldn't find any remnants of this... But I feel like there was a Planestalker Pac-Man game.
Okay.
That was also, like, playable. So there's a lot of, like, interesting stuff on the website. And I like the idea of the full experience is with the website. And this kind of idea, like, with every episode, there'd be new stuff on the website to check out. And kind of creating a content loop there where it's like you watch the show. And then you go to the website and you play some games. And then you watch the next show. I think the concept is good, but, like, it's the 90s and no one understood the internet yet.
Yeah.
And, like, if you go in the Wayback Machine, you can find a lot of this stuff. And it's not like there was ads on those websites. You can't play anything because Flash is dead.
Yeah.
But you can see remnants of it. But there are 3 sketches that I remember from the website that do not appear in the show.
Yep.
There is a sketch called Wild Iglesias, which I don't remember.
Okay.
But I remember, but it was like listed there. There was a sketch called Vet Cliff, and it was a veterinarian that was just on the side of a cliff, and you would bring your dog to them, and then he would just throw it off a cliff.
Okay.
And then there was another one called Fat Back Jack, which was like this insanely fat hillbilly, like Jabba the Hutt-sized hillbilly.
Okay.
Playing the banjo, saying that he needed to get married so he'd have someone in his life to help him find his shoes.
Okay.
And then I think at the end he dies. Like, I think that's the end of that sketch. So there were more sketches that did not air that were, I assume, would be episode 2.
Okay, yeah, because I can imagine they wanted the show to run longer.
I doubt that there are any more that are gone unseen, because I imagine Steve just put them all up on his website.
Yeah, I would think you would. That, like, kind of free content, pre-YouTube.
Yeah. So there was more to this, so clearly it was meant to be a show. It's just, it's very ADD, it moves way too quick.
Yeah.
It loses its own premises constantly.
Yes. And,
like, we're in this time where weird is funny on the internet. Weird is not funny on TV.
Yeah, this is pre, like, Adult Swim. This is pre, like, that kind of humor becoming in vogue. So you could argue that this is a little bit ahead of its time in a way. And I think, like, if you'd taken this exact thing and boiled it down to 4 11-minute web shows, this might have worked.
Yeah, because do you remember there was a website called passthison.com?
I do not.
It was just like this weird little funny website, and it was like little pranks and stuff you could do. And I remember one in particular was, you clicked on this website and you said, did you know every computer has a camera built into it? Which at the time was not true.
LOL.
It's like, yeah, it's in the upper left corner of your screen. Smile and we'll take a picture of you. And like you'd hit a button to take the picture and it would make like a camera noise, and then a picture of a monkey would show up.
Okay.
And it's like, it's not super clever. It's just kind of weird.
Right.
Another one I remember this was Save the Whales. And you would just click it and it would say Save the Whales. And it was someone skinny dipping, coming out of the water, and then like water would blow out of their butt. Not super funny, but very weird. And super, super bite-sized, because the time it took to download an image on 90s internet was like 45 seconds.
Because I remember like the game Elf Bowling being really popular in that time period. And it was like, quote, quote, edgy, because the elves like would sass you.
Yes.
And it was only 10 frames of bowling.
Right.
But it was that similar kind of like, ha ha ha, the elf farted on you.
Yeah, it's like, here's a weird thing. It's interactive. You would never see this on television. So to then take that content, move it to television, what made it special as it being this weird thing you found by accident on the internet.
Yeah.
And making it a thing that shows up at 9 o'clock on Thursdays on NBC.
Yeah.
Like, that erases any of the forgiveness you would give it for being on the internet and just makes it not work.
And I feel like this show was too expensive for what it needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think the show would have done better airing at a weird time slot at night.
Yeah.
Like, at night. Like, we always talk about Adult Swim being kind of the domain of stoners and college students at a certain time of like, oh, this is what you watched while you like got high with all your friends.
Yes.
That's what the show kind of felt like.
Yeah, this would make sense as an off-the-air or infomercials show
Absolutely.
on Adult Swim, which, if you don't know, they have a show called Infomercials and a show called Off the Air. So that's what it comes up on your, your ID.
Yes.
So it's just a little thing to be like, wait, this is wrong. What is this?
Yeah, and stuff like Too Many Cooks originally aired in that.
Yeah, that was originally an off-the-air or infomercial, I forget.
And in subsequent airings, it aired as Too Many Cooks. But
yes.
in its original, this was a thing Adult Swim did a lot of.
Yes.
I believe unedited footage of a bear.
Yes,
This
that's
house
another
has
one.
people in it.
That's one of my favorites.
Those all aired in these like weird pop-up spots. That's how I think this show would have benefited.
And to be honest, a lot of the things you just named had a website that you went to that had interactive elements. Like unedited footage of a bear, there's a whole part where like you can go through the house that they show.
Yeah.
Find clues. This house has people in it. Has another 2 hours of footage that you can find on the internet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so like creating that content loop that SteveOedekerk.com was trying to do is exactly what Adult Swim does.
Did you know anybody who watched any of those first run by accident?
Not really. I remember the Too Many Cooks phenomenon, where everyone was just kind of like... I remember it being on the front page of Reddit the next day. And it was like, I fell asleep to this. And Adult Swim did not advertise this at all. And then ever since then, it was the cat was kind of out of the bag. Because Too Many Cooks was such a sensation.
I mean, I still win the ultimate gold medal for having the piss scared out of me by
Right.
Adult Swim in the middle of the night. There was an ad that ran. It was just like, it was legitimately like a fake ad.
And it was a real ad.
Oh, it was a real ad, but like it wasn't like a 15, 20-minute thing. It was just like a commercial.
Yeah, it was for the Moonanites hats.
And so I'm like in my, I want to say I'm like either in my dorm room or in my like room in my parents' house watching Adult Swim in the middle of the night. And I wake up and it's footage of my real life friend being hit by a car.
Yeah.
And I like did not take that well. He was in all reality an intern for Adult Swim.
Yeah.
So it was him in the middle of the night on my TV getting hit by a car.
Yeah.
So I win.
I'll see if I can find that commercial and I'll stick it in here.
Yeah, because he's definitely in that commercial and still terrifying to remember. This show, I guess we have the, is it verdict time?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's very clearly a stay doomed.
It is such a stay doomed. It's not adult or sophisticated enough to be an Adult Swim kind of show. It is so stupid.
Yeah, I like Steve Oedekerk a lot, but this is a miss.
I hated this. And just it coming off Heather's, like...
We needed something good.
Yeah, I
did
need to
not get
watch
something
something entertaining at least. I am not entertained, y'all.
Yes. So, to move this towards the end of the show, thank you to Cryptkeepper Mathew for being a Cryptkeeper.
Yeah.
We have by the time this goes up, we might have our second episode of the Crowdfund Crypt up. We are watching Trapped.
Yeah.
Which is a UK children's game show. I'll include some links if you want to watch that. And then join our Patreon if you want to give that a listen. You can start at just $5 and you get to join our Discord and talk to us about stuff like this.
I mean, mostly it's been me complaining about Heather's for like a week now, so...
What are we watching next week?
So technically, we don't know yet.
This is true.
Because we're recording this ahead. We're actually ahead for a change.
Yeah.
And the Razzie nominations come out, I believe, March 13th. And we are not there yet. So we don't technically know what the Razzie nominations are going to be yet. But we're going to bet on Dolittle.
Yes.
Dolittle is available on HBO MAX. So bet on that. Because
Yes.
I really think that's going to be a nominee this year.
Yeah, if not, I'll edit something else in right now. Editor Noah here, cutting in what the Razzie nominations are. Next week we will in fact be watching Dolittle, which you can watch right now on HBO Max. The other Razzie nominations include 365 Days, Fantasy Island, Music, and Absolute Proof, which is a documentary about the election by the My Pillow guy, which we're not sure we really want to do. We don't want to really signal boost that movie. Plus, we don't really do documentaries. I don't know if this is going to be something that Stay Doomed really should be taking a look at. So we decided to put the vote up to you. What will we do for that fifth slot of Razzie month? Will we do Absolute Proof, as it is in fact nominated for Worst Picture? Will we do what our crowdfund Cryptkeeper suggested, which is Battlefield Earth, the film that won Worst Movie of the Decade? Will we do Laura's favorite bad movie, Batman and Robin, which did not win Worst Picture, but did win Worst Female Performance for Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl? Or will we do my choice, the only movie to win in every category, Jack and Jill? You can vote right now on the @StayDoomed Twitter page.
Yay! Okay, so we're thinking Dolittle, and we're going to be sliding into Razzie Month.
Razzie Month. Yes, so this is the month where we always watch all the Razzie-nominated films. So go ahead and look those up and watch any of them, because there'll be an episode coming for all of them eventually.
Yeah.
Where can people find us, Laura?
You can email us at thestaydoomedshow@gmail.com or on Facebook and Twitter @StayDoomed.
And if you want to talk to me about the idea of cartoons doing stand-up comedy, I'm at +2 Comedy.
If you miss Megan Wants a Millionaire, I'm at Sprocket League. Until next time, stay doomed.